you're going to spend a ton of money on putting some sort of ABM practice in place. And then you're like, what am I promising? Right. And so CMOs are putting their neck on the line to like really promise something like that. This is where I think it starts to like actually get better over the last couple of years, is really like having the CMO and a CRO really partner together.
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. Oh yeah, I hit the button. This adventure has begun. We have left the dock. The whitewater rafting is about to begin. I'm excited. I can't wait to introduce my guest today. Why, Casey? Well, you got to know, we've got some of the most amazing guests on here. It's a who's list of marketing. And I will say, I have seen quite a few podcasts that go, oh, they were on Casey's show. Let me get them on my show. And I am honored that they would do that. But guess what? The guest today is the guest's guest. The guest today is someone that the rock star guests of the past have said, hey, you need to talk to this person. They're absolutely the one to talk to. So this comes highly recommended. I can't wait to introduce her to you all today. But who is she? Go-to-market leader, thought leader, and one of the rare people who can talk to both sales and marketing. When I asked her, are you sales, are you marketing? It's like, I'm go-to-market, because she's been bridging that gap for 20 plus years, decades, millennia, centuries, and really taking multiple enterprise clients from 100Ks to millions in ARR contracts. Previously an executive at Digital Pie, go-to-market strategic advisor at SpringDB, and the founder and community leader at Data Pros, Nicole Burns. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Holy crap. You do all the things.
I try. I think it's day by day.
You're just so busy. I love it.
I'm a mom, just a mom.
I could have added that, and that's like 10x even busier. Now I really don't know how you're doing it. So I'm gonna shut up here. I'm gonna pass you this thing. It's heavy, but moms have to carry babies, and that gets heavy too. Here you go. Ugh. All right, you go ahead and grab this. Take Thor's hammer. Go ahead. You got it? Oh, okay.
Yep,
There you go.
I got it.
Okay. Great. Nicole, take Thor's hammer and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, a bogus strategy, a misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
I think the myth, I would say, and maybe this lends itself to the introduction, is that, sales and marketing are two completely separate worlds. And I think we're getting close, but I think trying to put on multiple hats to really achieve that at some, enterprise level. But still, today, we still have conflict between sales and marketing, not having those conversations. But that's the myth that I feel like marketing and sales work well together is the myth.
So do we work well together, or don't we? Like, what's at the root of this? Are we just doomed to never collaborate in peace and harmony?
I think I think the goal is there. We're meaningful in terms of our operations. Do we want to get there? Yes. And I think it's the understanding, and two, it's the collaboration between both teams. And, sales, they got numbers to meet quotas. They got, they're very, very focused on closing the deal, right? And then marketing is driving the leads, driving the funnel, making sure that they're handing everything over to sales that is qualified. But the other side of sales is like, this isn't quality. And so that's the battle, of driving quality leads.
And how easy is it just to throw each other under the bus? I was just talking to a good friend, CMO at a large organization, and, sales is shitting on him. They are literally just blaming him for the lack of this and the lack of that. And I feel for I've been there. I've been in that situation where sales, whatever they're doing, and they're like, marketing, it's all you. It's not me, it's you.
Right. Right. And that's fair too, and I think it's if you're looking at the numbers, people are going to start to point fingers and get frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And some of the largest largest budgets are on the marketing side. So it's like, show me,
Yeah.
what do you got for me in terms of these leads? The initiatives that are in place for a lot of companies today are putting some, more of like the total addressable market one, looking at that. What is your ICP that goes along with it? The ideal customer profile, right? Really owning that and mapping that out, not just like looking at lists. I mean, we're looking at product. We're looking at, even the product marketing team and how they're addressing the market, right? With that
Right.
product. Why would they put that product out there? Why would that be of an interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're working in that fashion, then you're trying to, again, look at who would be ideal as a customer, then putting the tools in place to measure that. We're thinking about intent and thinking about, looking at the companies that could be or would show some interest in what you're selling. And then, of course, having sales lead into that. Lean into that is like, do they have the analytics, the metrics, the activities, the visibility for marketing, when marketing is pushing that over, right? And responding, right, with authenticity, one, and quickness, right? Within 24 hours. But there's a lot that goes into that, right? It's basically an ABM motion, and people throw that around like, I hate throwing out ABM's been thrown around for like 8
So
to
much.
10 years now,
Yeah.
and it's like, companies coming out with an ABM product like Marketo never really worked.
Shots fired, Marketo. Try better next time. Try harder.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, like the goal is there. That everybody wants to do it. And then you have Sixth Sense, who is, says that they can do it all. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there thinking that they can achieve all of it. Um, I still think that there's a mix of technology and there's a mix of people and process.
Mm.
And there's the likes of, SpringDB, and what we're doing is we're trying to achieve that with the companies and clients that we're working with, the executives that we're working with. It's like getting them to understand that there are set, amount of technologies that can do it, but then also the people that are on board and then the processes that are built around it.
You know what? This is great being able to chat with you about this because I feel like you could be, maybe this is a future thing for you. You already have a million projects, but I almost like you could be the judge, jury, and executioner. You got sales, you got marketing, and they're both pointing the fingers. Maybe we bring you in and we go, hey, you shared a bunch of different stats and a bunch of different things. What would you look at to figure out who's at fault here?
I'm diplomatic. Maybe that's why I do what I do. I'm also Canadian, so I'll own that.
Yeah.
I hate pointing fingers. You know what? If I were to point fingers, I would think I think it's the executive leadership and the visionaries that are leading the charge.
Yeah.
You'll often see CMOs with the whole initiative, and CMOs are like in this uphill battle, on trying to get everybody to listen and own up to the exercise of putting something like this in place. And then you have, again, it's getting beat down with the numbers, getting beat down with the budget, being, hands are tied on developing this out because you don't know what you're gonna get. You're gonna spend a ton of money on putting some sort of ABM practice in place, and then you're like, "What am I promising?" Right? And so CMOs are putting their neck on the line to, like, really promise something like that. This is where I think it starts to, like, actually get better over the last couple of years, is really, like, having the CMO and a CRO really partner together,
Yeah.
right? The two of them really talking the same talk. I mean, the CRO has got, sales and marketing usually in
Mhm.
their mindset, and the CMO or VP of marketing is doing the same thing, where, of course, they're thinking about creative, and they're thinking about product, and they're thinking about launching and websites and all of this crazy stuff that's going on in the world. And it's so time consuming. And the CRO, of course, has that understanding. And a VP of sales, right,
Yeah.
definitely does. But again, they're looking at month-to-month numbers, quarter, ARR, MMR, whatever, MRR or whatever. And then you're so narrowly focused that you don't have time to get into that marketing conversation. But finally, CROs are taking some ownership in that and working and partnering with CMOs. Now the enablement crew on the other side of that, which
Yeah.
is like left brain, right brain. You're talking about
Yeah.
this. And that's like being able to be strategic in the 30,000 foot view, but then being able to like operate. And that's operations, right?
Mm.
Like I love RevOps. RevOps is like the game changer. I think it's like marketing and sales working together, putting these practices in place. I have some good friends in RevOps right now that are making those changes, that are like bringing the marketers to the table, bringing the sales folks to the table, because now we have technologies that are talking both sales and marketing.
Is this a role that's been needed for so long, or is this just another word that we've invented in the marketing space?
I think it's evolved.
Okay. Tell me more.
It's definitely evolved, right? Because I came from sales ops and
Yeah.
then went
Okay.
into
Cool.
marketing ops, right? So I got to see both sides of it. Like you're in
Wow.
Salesforce land, all of a sudden you're in, Marketo land.
You are the middle in all of these things.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of seeing it all come together, right? And
Yeah.
then I get it. Sales ops has got, of course, their everything handed to them, and then so does marketing operations. But you're starting to see this evolution where you're even seeing in the recs now, like the job recs that are out there, like must know sales operations and marketing operations.
I like that.
And I do like that too. But on an enterprise level, you're probably not going to get that, like at a massive organization. But I think at the more nimble organizations, the companies that are growing, that are Series A, B, you know, might have the ability to actually merge both of those roles.
Now, what breaks down at the larger companies? You just too much, and can you have a RevOps team then versus just
Yeah,
yeah?
I feel like it is a RevOps team, but I mean, like, I guess you still have to wait and see that, you know?
Are the teams just too big when you get to enterprise? It just breaks down, whereas you can collaborate when they're a little bit smaller.
I think it's more of an old school operation too.
Oh
So
yeah,
you're not,
yeah.
yeah. So that's just my opinion, and there's probably definitely organizations out there that are, but that's the thing too. Like, if you're managing a Salesforce system that is like how many users, ridiculous amount of objects and, unique operations and unique setup that's on the back end, like you can break, it needs to be managed and can be broken
Yep.
easily, but needs to be managed by IT and sales operations, and then, you also have the analysts and all of these different functions, the coders, development, all working in Salesforce environment. Same thing on marketing automation now, where that might be more of like, you're seeing bigger, larger teams that are running centers of excellence for all campaign execution, right?
Mm.
On a global level, right? You have different teams all over, the world that are managing different functions. How would you take, in my brain, in my mind, how I think about this, how would you take these teams and some sort of way unify them or have them collaborate in more of a RevOps function? You know?
Yeah, no, it makes like I could totally see it continue to evolve. What would you say that a lot of people get wrong when they take their first stab at a RevOps, individual or team?
I think what they might get wrong is that they don't really, they're not really looking at the data, or they're they don't know much about the data that the company has. So that's another layer of all of this too. It's and then why I'm starting Data Pros, with John Castoros and we have this great idea to like start bringing people together to talk about customer 360. There's nothing worse than uh, communicating to a customer that is already frustrated with your product and you're already trying to sell them something else. Just because you don't have the visibility or knowledge between CRM and marketing to really like deploy that type of messaging, right? And support and success. They have a lot of that data too to really understand what's going on with an existing client relationship. And I keep using that as an example, while I'm talking about data pros, is because we're so siloed in our operations. So I think if we're going into, what we're getting wrong in terms of operations, is really like being able to like see our data in one place. And then that's why people are starting to talk about CDP and really kind of seeing the customer at one single source of truth, right? And you got systems like and databases like, Snowflake that enable marketers to actually get like that 360 view, right? And so then I think that in that sense would help, I think, a team start to think about RevOps as an enterprise type of operation.
Got it. Yeah, everyone's been talking about Snowflake, huh? Shout out to
Yeah,
Snowflake. What's up?
I know. Well, that's the other side too. It's like I've done projects in the past where we were introduced to the, data lakes and data warehousing. And you have insane amounts of data and you're like, well, we don't know what to do with it. Marketing teams don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to extract it, call on it. They don't know what's clean, what needs to be enriched, deduplicated. And so there's definitely tools out there like that do that. However, it's still like you're thinking about now getting into the MDM side of it is like really understanding what the ERP is telling you. Again, support, customer success, all of these little little pieces of data that can really influence your messaging as a marketer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Snowflake is one of those enablers that I think helps a lot with that. And of course, there's other technologies out there too. You got Databricks, you got all these different technologies that really like foster. But Snowflake's finally, over the last year and a half, and I've been watching them year and a half, 2 years, like finally putting out like this idea and view of what the CMO needs
Mm.
in terms of data operations.
And these things keep evolving too. It can't be relying on what we did in the last several decades. I won't say how many decades.
I know. If I could think back 15 years of like, I wrote a blog post. It's for our new community, thinking about like where it started and
Yeah.
how I like got into this. And I was like, it was just targeting. That's all it was, sales
Yeah.
targeting. And like, we just built our target list and then we just go after them and we would just attach some sort of like Google algorithm to like pinpoint those companies that we are, interested in and just hoping and praying they came to our website. We would market, come to our website, get the lead, grab the lead, follow up with it and go about our day.
Yeah.
But the touch points are so different now.
Yeah. Do you think is it the buyer getting more mature, do you think?
Oh yeah, I think so too. It's like there's even changes on that side too. Like I think the buyer, of course, they're relying more on research still these days. They're going to multiple sources um, and of information, like G2, of course, is one of the bigger ones, and thinking about how that really drives the feedback. They need to do the research before they reach out, but still, you still have to get your messaging out there. You're still trying to grab the interest in the audience, especially like, yeah, imagine like an engineer at one point in time, right? An engineering lead is totally stuck on some sort of development project. Wouldn't it be great if you like something popped up in their face and said, "This is going to solve your problem"? I mean, that's the marketer's dream
Yeah.
to like really connect the dot. Do we ever get there? I think we're still striving for it, but again, that's called data touch points. That's called really kind of diving into what we know in LinkedIn, what we know at Google, what we know with AI now. AI is giving us a ton of feedback and a ton of information about where we can target and adjust our messaging, you know?
Yeah, what have you seen with that? Because I've definitely seen that it can at least gobble up a lot of information and summarize it. Too long didn't read. It's helpful for me because I only want like 3 sentences. But like, where have you seen that really come into play with the feedback?
I think it still has its areas where like you can't entirely trust AI to give you the answer 100%, but it definitely can help you along. There's so many tools out there right now that can help out with the process of setting something up or creating something or giving you the messaging or giving you the insight,
Mhm.
right? Like it's pretty cool. Like, you get Zoom Info released their Copilot, which it gives you like all of the sales insight, right? It tells you how to craft your messaging, when to follow up. Gong, it's the same thing. It's like it's embedded in your whole sales cycle. I love tools like that where you're like, now you know when you know to really target and message the people at the right time. And beyond that, it's like taking that to the next level and being able to act on that in a very automatic fashion, I think is the next level. And there's companies out there like agentic AI, where they set up these agents to call on your behalf or message on your behalf as a marketer or a salesperson. And they can start to do the outreach for you where you can start to focus on your planning and your territory mapping and your selling,
Yeah.
running a sales cycle or running a marketing campaign, and you can have that outreach just running.
Wow.
I think AI is definitely going to enable us. It's not going to replace at all. I mean, we definitely need the quality of human being added to that process, but like at SpringDB here, we use AI every single day. Like we use it
Wow.
for all of our projects. We use it for our recordings and our data assessments and doing some analysis and recommendations. I think without AI, we wouldn't have been able to turn around it as fast as possible because, of course, like we were just saying, the data is getting more massive today. And so how do we move through that? And how do we utilize key touch points to like keep the project moving forward or the conversation moving forward?
Do you think at some point there's like too many touch points? I keep seeing, or maybe that we just keep rolling with that. I keep seeing the stats saying that more and more touches are happening before a sale is occurring.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Longer sales cycle. It's a
Yeah.
pain in the butt.
Yeah,
It's a
really.
pain. CRO hates that. It's like, I want to shorten sales cycles. Well, I mean, how do you shorten a sales cycle? I mean, I think there's different operations and different technologies that can be put in place to shorten a sales cycle for sure. It's like having, like, again, with AI, maybe deploying more AI to give you intent or to provide intent and insight, especially if you dial in your ICP and your total addressable market in a very tight manner.
Mhm.
I think with that, you can shorten the sales cycle because there's nothing worse than throwing, or what is it called? The spraying and praying
Mhm. Mhm.
type of idea, just like throwing everything out there and expecting it to stick.
Just hope it happens. Yeah.
Again, it goes back to the data. It goes back to me looking at all of the information from every single touch point that was in the past, win-loss rates, product information, you're looking at the analytics, and then I think one thing is like, if there could be, and maybe there is, something that helps us consolidate and drive that. And then I think that's some sort of internal AI motion that allows us to consolidate the information. But I said, hey, tell me about, company ABC and tell me they're a current client today. And I want to know what they've spent and, what they've been messaged and how long they've been a client and where, what is going on with their company today. And if they're a public company, what's their 10K report and a summary? I mean, these are the questions I want to prompt about a client, right? I don't want input data like, some success rep says this company's in the red because their implementation stalled. I'm like, that's not giving me enough information. I want the who's and what's and where's and when's, and I want everything about that. And I think internal secure AI tools are, on an operational level are something that can give us that. And that if that's CDP, then I'm all for it, you know?
Yeah. I think sometimes the challenge could be we collect data and then just never use it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like we squirrel it away like we're dragons sitting on treasure, but then we never use it, and then slowly over time it goes out of date.
Yes. Yes. And there's not many tools out there that can keep it up to date.
No. No.
Yeah. I mean, there are, but they're not as thorough as you need them to be.
Right, because when Peter retires, Peter retires. Like, he's not at that company anymore, and he's not at any company anymore, and yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's frustrating, I think, and I think that's like again, why we have to have data pros. I'm like, oh, there's gotta be people out there are figuring it out.
Yes.
That I want these people to come to the discussion and start to and lead the discussion and say, "I think I mapped it out. Like this
Yeah.
is what I need to what I want to do."
Right.
You know? If Einstein or, is at Salesforce is gonna be the answer to some of this, like, I'm all for it. I wanna hear all about it. But I need to have, like, a data pros and people that are coming to the discussion to say, like, I'm updating my data this way, or I'm updating my client information this way, And you can put, like, automation in place that starts to move the data in that fashion. There are
Yeah.
technologies out there to do it. But again, we don't know how. We don't who's gonna do it or, what and can it be done in a secure fashion?
Yeah, and actually, that's a whole rabbit hole with that, but one of the questions I wanted to get to with, staying up to date is how you stay up to date, like, where are your sources of insights? Where do you like to learn from? Are you reading things, books, podcasts? What is it? How do you like to stay in a loop?
Um, yes, reading, of course, is happy. I think LinkedIn is definitely helps. And then of course going down the LinkedIn wormhole of like where these people are leading me in terms of their discussion, right? Companies, products, their own podcasts, their own webinars, really hearing it from them. And then also looking at maybe the investor community, really seeing what they're leaning in on, right? And then, just like keeping the conversations open. Again, it's like talk to the people that you know and I like to do that. It's just like touching base with folks that I think can and well, that I've worked with in the past and still work with today, just that I can leverage even for additional insight, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're losing that. Like we don't talk as much as we used to or meet up as much as we used to. We're just so like heads down in work mode,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and you run the risk of just staying in whatever bubble you're in and not learning anything and quickly finding yourself out of date behind the curve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm taking this course in AI right now. It's like an AI in business management at, MIT
Wow,
Sloan.
nice.
Well, I have, like, a week left, which is nice. Um, I am learning because I was been in my marketing and sales bubble for a long time, and now I'm, like, seeing what other folks are so there's about 300 students in the class right now, the current class that I'm in.
Mhm.
And you're in these discussion boards and what everybody's doing, right? And their take on AI and how they're managing it,
Yeah.
within their organization, and they are we're all over the place. We're in accounting, finance, engineering, development. And some marketing, not as many as marketing sales. So I thought there would be a ton. I thought it would be like looking through discussion boards, I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of, like, people from smaller little like teams within an organization that they're in their own little bubble. They don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Stay with me. But it's like opening my eyes to be like, okay, this is and manufacturing is another thing too. We're thinking about that, like robotics. But it's just thinking about how we can start to like get out there
Mhm.
and talk. But yeah, MIT kind of opened me up for that. Just hopefully there'll be more to come.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to that. My next question really is like, who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you take me back in time, like little you days, right? Like, did you know you're going to be leading sales and marketing teams in the path of like actual revenue and fixing things up and breaking things and rebuilding them even better? Like, take me back in time. Little you, did you know, like, little Nicole, was she running around going, I'm going to do this one day? Or like, what? What did you want to do?
Um, I think everybody thought I was gonna be a lawyer at some point.
Yeah.
Like, when I was very young, like, a tween, and, what's funny about that is, it does lend itself a little bit to today, right? Outspoken, doing a lot of research, reading, having some opinions.
Right.
However, I didn't really wanna put the work into like, somebody told me, they're like, "Yeah, it takes, like, 8 to 10 years before you can, like, actually get
Like,
somewhere as a
damn.
lawyer," and I'm like I don't think I don't like to read that much. I'm like an audio person. Like I like to listen. Sort of. Um, I think, back in the day, there was something that had me like, I was always going out of my comfort zone. Like if I would be involved with a play or I would be involved in some sort of, public speaking engagement, like really young, where they did these like public speaking, like, awards, challenges for kids, like, like it's like the early stages of
Yeah.
debate, getting involved with that. And then I found myself in student government at a very young age. All through from junior high all the way up to high school, I was involved in student government, and even a little bit in college. Got involved in the student union as well. So I've always like found myself at some sort of leadership capacity. And that way, even in my town that I live in, I'm doing stuff that are like, volunteering and leading some charges that are like really good for our community here. That might take another podcast to talk about all those fun things that I'm doing.
Right.
But I really like to just be out with people. Like, I love to meet people, I love to engage with people, and I remember people. Like,
Yeah.
that's me. So, getting into that, going into college, getting past high school, getting into college, you're like for some reason, my first year, I was like, "I'm gonna be a psychologist,"
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
because I wanted to meet people and
Figure out their craziness.
yeah, fix them, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this." And I was like, "I don't think I'm that at that level that I wanna know everybody's garbage."
Right.
So,
Right.
but anyway,
Wait, get paid for people to trauma dump on you? What?
oh, I know, right? I'm like, I don't think I'm that traumatic enough to know, like, to fix somebody else. So I don't have the maybe, maybe I don't have the wherewithal to help with that. But
Sure.
my best friend and some other people were like, all we're sitting in the dining hall and we were doing homework. And for some reason, that's, we always, I think there's a lot of colleges that do that. You eat and do homework at the same time. And
Yeah.
then I'm listening to them. They're all in business school. And I was listening to their projects and I was like, I could totally do that. Like I'm listening to them and I'm wanting to chime in and I'm wanting to get involved. And I literally like, I remember it was like a light bulb went off. I was at one university and decided to like totally cut it. I gave up my whole first year and restarted at a new university and did at St. Mary's University in Canada. It's at SoBe Business School of Management.
Oh, cool.
And that was a lot of fun. That kind of just opened my eyes and ears open to like a more of like the business community. Like you're immersed into all these case studies and you're thinking about what we're talking about today. Like you have the marketing professor and the management professor and the human resources manager or professor. And I felt like I was more in tune with their thinking than, you know, so for me, always being an extrovert, always being involved with sports, always leadership. And I felt like my business degree gave me some sort of way to get myself out there in terms of thinking strategically and operationally and all of those things. So yes, do I use my degree? Yes, for sure. But do I use it as in the theory of my degree? No,
Yeah.
of course not. But it just gave me like the foundational type of things to continue on today. So that's
Foundation.
me as a yeah. Yeah. Always hustling too, by the way. Casey, I was selling credit cards in high school at the local fair.
Whoa, 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 tell me about that. What kind of credit card was it?
Oh, a Sears credit card.
Right?
And I kicked butt, like, I kicked ass. Like, I was, like, selling so many. I made so much money doing it because I
Wow.
just have this, "Hey, you should do it." I mean, these cards carried a 28% interest rate. It's I feel bad. I'm like, hopefully those people didn't continue on with those credit cards.
You're like the financial devil.
Think back now, I'm like, I shouldn't have did that. But I think when
Aren't
you're
you?
17, you don't understand. You just see money. And
Oh,
then in
yeah.
college, I have my own life insurance business while I was in college, moonlighting, like do classes. And then, yeah. And then my classes ended on Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I sold insurance, like was on the road.
Wow.
Yeah, I just, and then because I was always hustling in some sort of way, like from a young age all the way up to college. GE, the CEO at GE was like, that was like my first gig coming out of college. He's like, If she sold insurance, she can sell everything that we have. So
Hell yeah. Hey, what was your number one tip for doing that credit card sign up thing? Like what made you so successful with that?
I think approaching my approachability. I think
Yeah.
being warm and then looking for something in common with the person, like, hey, like that shirt, or what are you doing here today? Or opening the conversation. I'm like, by the way, I'm selling this credit card. I just signed up too. Just conversation.
Yeah, like, that sounds like a very human approach, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Not just like, hey, are you interested in buying this credit card or
"No, I don't. Go away." Yeah.
that stuff.
They're like, "Nice jacket." I'm like, "Oh, I thank you. Well, thank you."
I
Like,
love it. It's I would get to know somebody and then, and it was just a building the trust early on, always. That me as a salesperson, that's the other side of it. It's like building trust,
yeah.
you know? Yeah, that's what it comes with.
And, I think some people are easier than others. I remember doing stuff like what you're talking about, and if it was usually there were couples that I was selling to, and if the guy had a baseball hat on, I was like, "These guys are great. We got him." Right? Because he was just it meant he was, like, chill, he was ready to listen, and I don't know, it was a sign for me when they had a ball hat on, I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be a good one."
Yeah, yeah, like, they're not as, you know
Yeah.
I there's and I think that should still be the approach today,
Yeah.
you know? A little bit more patience to go along with it is what is needed.
I know, we're just grinding for those SQLs all the time.
Oh, yeah, on both sides. You're grinding for the deal, you're grinding for yeah, the MQL, the SQL, everything, and, you're just hoping, praying that something's gonna come through. I think the personal touch is like, that could never die.
Mhm.
It could never die, for sure. I mean, but it's something like, can you learn it?
Mm.
You know?
Well, are people born a-holes or not? I don't know. But, my favorite sales call is when I'm just calling to catch up. I'm like, "Look, you're not in the pipe. There's no deal associated with your name. I was just sort of catching up. I'm wondering what you're up to." And they're like, "Oh, we're bringing the thing back and we wanna start." They're like, "Oh, okay. We're doing this now, I guess." And, yeah, that's not why I called, but game on. Let's do this.
I know, and that's how a lot of my opportunities have come to be in the past as well. Um, part of in my early career, I started at, Success Factors in inside sales, and Success Factors now an SAP company. We just had this amazing team, people, like, warm and open, like, that was, like, our part of our culture was, like, we didn't have those corner executive offices where everybody was out of touch. We sat in this, like, newsroom style without barriers. Everybody was in reach. And, and the emails or the conversations and the collaboration were like it was I it's very hard to get it again. We had it again at Digital Pie where we were just like, and I hate calling it a horizontal type of operation. I don't think it was. I think everybody had just mutual respect for what everybody's role was. We didn't waste time. But we had respect, right? And I think that's what goes along with it. And then what happened after leaving Success Factors, after a couple of years of starting there, is that network and those people I still talk to today. I mean, we're looking
Mhm.
at 16, 17 years of continued relationships with people that I've had, lunch with and da da da. And I'm having lunch with the engineering team and I'm in sales. Like, who in sales talks to engineering? Right. It's just because we
Yeah.
had a foodie group. We had a foodie group. And so the
Oh,
foodie
that's
groups
awesome.
were always, or like the marketing team was like, let's go out and hang out with the sales team because I want to learn what the sales team is working on. And the sales teams want to learn what the marketing team is working on. And still to that day, I think or to this day, is we still take that type of, way, that openness, and still share it amongst each other. And it's amazing. And LinkedIn helps, of
Yeah.
course, because I get to see what everybody's working on. Like, I'll have a conversation tomorrow with, a former colleague as a COO, and I'm excited to talk to him. I was like, hey, I want to see what you're working on. And I have a couple things I wanted to share. I want to get your take on. And, those relationships, they go somewhere. They continue to go on. Yeah. Yeah. They continue to bring deals. They continue to, you know, I love that. Yeah. Having that.
Yeah, and good luck tracking that. It's just one of those things that it just is, right? And it's like the
Yeah.
goodness of humanity when that happens. I
Yeah.
have one final question for you. It's a bit of a hypothetical question though.
Okay.
You ready for this?
No, I don't know. Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Well, you see, I may or may not have a time machine over here in New Hampshire. So let's say you're coming to Boston, do an event or whatnot. Come on up to New Hampshire, and you get to use it. Okay, I have a time machine. It's in the backyard, covered in a tarp. Okay, so you get to use this time machine, but it's a very special time machine where you get to go back in time and meet yourself a couple days after graduating. You got that business degree, a little HR in there. You got some of those psych classes, and you're like 4 days out, and there you are. What would you tell yourself? What kind of advice would you give that Nicole?
What would I tell myself and what would I give myself as advice? I I would just keep on rocking, keep on being fearless, don't give up. You're gonna have lots of downs, but the highs are gonna be way higher than you've ever experienced before. It'll just keep going up. Man, there's been so many like dips along the way since then. But would I if I look back now and I would say just don't give up, stay the course and continue to be positive, continue to rock on and yeah, and just be fearless. That's my resolution for this year is like to be fearless. And so to take on opportunities that I've never had before or never dreamed of and just to go for it. And I think I just need to keep telling myself to be fearless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Do you think younger you would listen to you?
No, no. I would have like, holy crap, all that's gonna happen. I can't do it. There's no way. Like I'm like staring at this mountain. There's just no way. One foot in front of the other is the only way that I could really do it over this time. It's just like just I've been one of those people like I can never look at the whole journey and path in front of me because I just get so intimidated, you know? But if I look down and I kind of focus on those feet in front of the other, it's like I snowboard, by the way,
Hell yeah.
and I love snowboarding. But I look at the tip of my snowboard often and just maybe about 3 feet in front of it. If I look way out, like literally, I don't know if I'm going to catch an edge.
100%, right? Yeah.
Right? And so that helps me kinda go and the same thing, I did a half dome couple years ago, not couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, and I saw the dome, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going up that. There's absolutely no
Right?
way I'm going up those cables. There's no way." I stood there and I was, like, panicked. I've done it twice. First time, this is my first time panicking, and I saw this, like 70 some year old man walked past me and he just like put his hands on his hips like this and kind of like looked at it and he kept walking without hesitation.
Right.
And I was like, I'm 20 some years old and I'm here like cowering. I'm like, and it's funny when I got to the cables and my husband was there waiting with me. And by the way, he had everybody chant at the bottom of the cables my name until I got over there. And everybody's like, Nicole, get over here, get over it. I didn't know any of these people. And I was like seeing the old guy, having all these people chant my name. And then I was like, I got to do it because, of course, I'm not being accountable and I'm here for this. Like, you can't just come and just hang out on the saddle and not get to the top.
Right.
Anyway, so I did. And it's funny. Like, it was the easiest part of the entire hike, like, easiest part of the whole day.
Really?
It was easy coming I mean, down is more intimidating, by the way, because you're like, everything is, it's risky and scary at the same time. But going up, I was like, again, one foot in front of the other.
Right.
And before you knew it, I knew it. I was like on the top, looking out 10,000 feet, 9,000 feet, or whatever it is into this valley of Yosemite. And I'm like, it's the coolest, most amazing experience I've ever had. And I keep on thinking like, if I can't do this, if I decide not to do this, like I think back to that day, I'm like, I was so intimidated by something that eventually ended up being sort of easy and sort of like,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know, the journey there was hard. Okay.
Right.
The journey there is hard. That's the easiest part is that whole dome. And I, I gotta, that's the shit that I need to stop, that I need to get out of my brain,
Yeah.
you know, that fear of this whole thing in front of you. Don't look at it.
Yeah. You get psyched out. You'll psych yourself out if you look at that. That's
I mean, it's good to have a big goal and a
yeah.
good plan,
Yeah.
and it's good to have a little fear going into it. To say, this is what I need to set, and I need to set a date for this goal, and then I need to get there. But every day is going to be different, and every step's going to be different. And you're just going to have to bear with the little bumps along the way, and it's going to happen.
Yep.
But you just keep going. I mean, here we are, philosophical.
That's how we do. That's how we do. That's what this show is all about. By the end, we just philosophize. So, hey, if people want to connect with you and they want to philosophize, like where do you want them to go? Where do you want them to connect? Talk Data Pros, talk Spring, like how do they reach out to you and all these things?
Yeah, datapros.biz. I'm that's my site. John and I are on there. I mean, the site's still basic. We're still trying to get content. We're still getting leadership involved, and we're about to launch. We're waiting on one executive to basically bring their game and bring their profile, and then we'll launch. So, but Data Pros is still a good place to come connect with me, and then also LinkedIn is a great place. I'm on there often, and then I can provide my email too. I'm Nicole at springdb.io as well. And so I'm all ears.
Well, awesome. Awesome. People should definitely reach out and tell them, well, you heard about them. Reach out and connect, get looped in. Man,
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like my brain, I'm going to have to go lay down after this because my brain is on fire.
Yeah, right.
This was so
You're a
good.
pro. You're a pro. You get this.
Like, seriously, understanding collaboration, the CRO, RevOps, all the conversations, ICP, TAM, throw AI, data lakes in there, shout out to Snowflake, all these things. Like, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. For those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone else, like 1 person, 3 people, 9,000 would be cool too. But even 1 person, like who needs to hear this? Who needs to really tidy up that RevOps functionality and make sure we really kind of deconflict some of the sales and marketing that we're seeing? But yeah, share this with someone else. And then you know what? Tag us on LinkedIn. We'll hop in there. We'll throw down in the comments and we'll have a good time. So with that, Nicole, thank you again for being on here.
Thank you. Bye, Casey.
All right, everyone. This has been a crazy cool, a very exciting episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.